Welcome to Jared Scott Outdoors. This YouTube channel is dedicated to getting our youth more involved in the outdoors. To do this, I'll be out with family and friends doing all sorts of outdoor adventures. This week on Jared Scott Outdoors, we are out on a youth turkey hunt. Now I've got Ryan Behunin with me and 11-year-olds, right?
Yep.
Ever been on a turkey hunt before?
Nope.
Never been on a turkey hunt before. Ever hunted anything before?
Nope.
All right, so first thing that he has ever hunted, Brant. Now you've actually seen Brant before. Fishing, turkey hunting with your other son. We've done a few things with Brant, and he loves to get outside. So anyways, this is kind of a big deal to take a kid out on his very first hunt, so I am honored to be able to be part of this. I'm excited because nobody in my family drew any turkey tags. So this gives us a good opportunity to come out here and do a youth turkey hunt. We're gonna have a good time, I can promise you that. Let's get after it.
Okay, this is me shooting a turkey.
As mentioned, we're heading out on a turkey hunt with Ryan, a first-time hunter. So his dad took him out to get some shooting in, not only to make sure his aim was true, but to build his confidence as well. When he was done, Ryan was ready to get a tom in his sights. Brant and I headed out several days early to get blinds set up in preparation for the opener. I'd be out of town for a few days, and so we wanted to make sure everything was ready for his son's hunt. Conditions were a stark difference from last year when I was post-holing through up to a foot of snow in some spots to get to the area we like to hunt. This year, conditions seemed really ideal. No snow, warmer temperatures, and just the fun of getting back out after a long winter. Putting 2 people in a blind is one thing, but add me with tripods and cameras and it gets way too crowded. So we really had no option but to put up 2 blinds. Setting them up, we made sure to have the windows give us the best view for both shooting and filming down the lanes the turkeys like to come through. And of course, even though they're camouflaged, I always like to add some brush around and on top of the blinds just to break them up a little more. The last thing I want to do is attract any attention to where we're at. 4 days later, I met Brant and his son Ryan at 5:30 in the morning. We needed time to hike the half hour to the blinds to get there well before daylight, so we wouldn't spook any turkeys that might be nearby. It had snowed a little overnight, so we had a bit of snow to deal with and, of course, pretty cold temperatures. We hiked with our headlamps until we got within a few hundred yards and then turned them off and made the rest of the way in just the little ambient light that was out there. Getting to the blinds, we paused and looked around. So far, we hadn't heard a single turkey gobble nearby, like I would have expected. And I also couldn't see any turkeys up in the branches where they are normally roosted. That was not a good sign. We did hear a few gobbles way off in the distance, but none of them were around us. Nothing we could do but hop on in and hope they were around, and so we slipped into our blinds and got everything ready. As it got a little lighter, I noticed a few dark spots up in the trees, and after checking with my binos, I did verify that there were indeed turkeys roosted not too far away. That was a good sign that made me feel a little better about our prospects. However, there still were no gobbles coming from those trees nearby, while we were starting to hear them more and more off in the distance, both behind us and in front of us, but several hundred yards away. As it continued to lighten even more, I was able to pick the branches apart and find 9 turkeys. However, I wasn't able to tell if any of them were toms. We waited for them to drop off their roost, hoping that they'd come our way. Chances were that even though I couldn't see any toms, one of them was probably a tom. When they did surprise me and drop out of the trees, they did it really quickly and unfortunately away from us. I wish that they would have come our way, but I still wasn't too worried, as this happens lots of times. There's still a good chance that in the next hour or so they would work our way through the trees, or that some of the other birds that we've been listening to would come our direction. So we just sat tight and waited. I of course called every now and then, hoping to help entice any lone tom, but it was really quiet out there. Everything seemed to just go silent once they hit the ground. Well, no reason to bore you with no action, but we waited for a few hours, calling, watching, and listening, but nothing. The only thing we had to show for it was some cold feet. Deciding to pack out of there, we headed in a direction where I knew the turkeys liked to go. As we were slipping through the area, Brant let out a few calls, and surprisingly, a tom gobbled right back at us less than 70 yards away. We hurried and took the little cover we had, and Brant called again. Sure enough, it gobbled right back. One more gobble, and then nothing. We waited and called, but after several minutes decided it had probably figured us out. Their eyesight is so good that it's hard to call them in when you're not in a blind, let alone calling them into 3 people without getting busted.
First day out, what do you think?
Well, we tried our best. We heard some gobbles, and
Tried our
yeah.
best, that was about it.
Well, at that point in the day, I had to head off for other obligations, and Brant and Ryan went and tried checking a few other spots to turkey hunt. They heard a few more turkeys when they explored a few areas, but no luck. So a couple days later, we were once again meeting at 5:30 in the morning and heading back out to our blinds for another try. We were optimistic that today there would be more turkeys in the area. The snow had all melted, and it was going to be a nice day. It just seemed like a good day to hunt. Getting to the blind a little earlier this time, we hadn't heard any turkeys gobbling in the trees yet. But that was okay, because we could see quite a few roosted around us. There were definitely a lot more birds in the trees than were there the last morning. As we got in our blinds and started getting everything set up, the turkeys started waking up as gobbles and chirps started filling the air. Just a few at first, but after a bit we could hear at least a half dozen gobblers and a bunch of hen calls from several different areas around us. This was looking and sounding good. It was probably a half hour or more before turkeys started leaving the roost, and like last time, they dropped off going away from us. There were a few that stuck around for a while, so I kept an eye on those while I was watching the ground around us. When there was only one turkey left in the roost, I turned my camera towards the lanes out in front of us. It was then that the last turkey finally flew out, and it ended up coming right towards us and into the brush behind us. So at least there was one turkey nearby. So now they were all on the ground spread out. You could hear gobbles and chirps in multiple areas, but not really much nearby us. As I mentioned the last time we were here though, I don't worry too much about them not being right by us, because after a while some of the turkeys start moving around, and so there was a chance we could get some to work our way over the next few hours. It had actually started getting kind of quiet out there. I had been consistently calling in hopes that it would help pull a tom our direction. I noticed when I did a very specific call, a tom gobbled back at me. I did the same call, and it gobbled again. I tried my reed call, and nothing. Going back to that other call, it immediately answered again. So I just kept at it and noticed that its gobbles appeared to be getting closer and closer. Sure enough, after the course of probably 15 to 20 minutes, it kept closing the gap and kept gobbling back every time I did that specific call. However, it sounded like it was coming in behind us. When I peeked through a tiny view I had that direction, I happened to see it about 30 yards out. A few minutes later, when I looked again, I was surprised to see it standing right next to the blind that Ryan and Brant were in, literally within a few feet. Unfortunately, it was at the back of the blind. They couldn't do anything but stay quiet and hope it would work around the front. I kept using that call that it seemed to love so much, and sure enough, it eventually skirted right past them and in front of us, but right into some thick stuff on our left. Now it was only 20 yards out, but probably because it couldn't find the source of the calls I was making, it stayed in that thick cover. I could tell it wanted to come out, but it was a bit leery. It was literally another 10 minutes of it right in range, but in an area too thick for a shot. It walked back and forth, left and right, all while I just kept making that call. I'd have to put my camera down, call, and then hurry and get the camera ready again in case it walked out. Eventually, it made the move and stepped out in the lane. But if you happen to see it, further in the back, a hen walked out first. I had no idea it was even there. So now I was just waiting for the shot. I assumed, like me, Ryan had been waiting on pins and needles for it to finally step out. However, no shot came. It started walking towards us and still no shot. I had no idea what was going on, but it came to within 10 yards of us and then started walking to our right. I'll admit I was getting a little bit nervous. At this point, I could no longer film it through this window, and so I tried to switch windows. I barely got it back in the camera view when a shot rang out.
Oh, wow.
Holy cow, dude. Ryan. Woo.
What a battle.
Good job, dude. Oh, it's running away. I'm joking.
Holy cow, dude.
That was intense, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's a nice gobbler, too.
It is a nice one.
Holy cow, I'll get the tag here in a moment. How does it feel, Ryan?
Very good. It kind of walked out, and I saw it through a little mesh thing, and I was like, "Oh, that's a nice one." And then it walked out, and then it stuck its head up, and I was like, "Well, might as well shoot it." And then shot it, and then it's dead. Next thing I know. Yeah, that was really fun.
Give me a hug, Ryan. That was awesome, dude. Cool.
I know.
That was so fun.
Nice bird, Ryan.
Thank you. Decent beer.
Yeah, that's a nice beard.
Yeah.
Got probably 8-inch beard.
Yeah, straight through the head.
Look at that. Good shooting.
Thank you.
Now, did you know they have spurs? These more mature toms?
Yeah.
See that big old thing right there?
Yeah.
That's what they'll use to fight with, those things right there.
Wow.
So that's what you'll keep as
nice
well.
bird.
All right, Ryan, congratulations. Beautiful Tom. Dad, congratulations.
Thanks.
It's pretty fun to watch, somebody get their first ever anything, right? I mean, I guess you caught a fish or two,
Yeah.
but his dad likes to fish a little bit. But anyways, first time putting a tag on something. And I'll tell you what, at least for me, I don't know if I can say for Ryan or Brant, but it was intense and I wasn't even shooting. There was one call that just really seemed to trigger him, and the rest of my calls didn't do it for him. But man, every time I do the one, he'd call. And we called him from a few hundred yards off. He just slowly got closer and closer, and then, like I said, behind the blind, and then looped around through too thick a brush to do anything, and then sat out in front of us, but in the brush for another, I don't know, it seemed like an eternity. Maybe it was 10 minutes, but it seemed like a long time before he finally stepped out into the lane. So I was expecting a shot any moment down that lane, and as you saw, and no shot came until it kind of came and rounded the corner a little bit. Turned out he wasn't in their line of sight. But anyways, it was intense for me. Ryan, how about you?
Very intense. Yeah.
Would you rather be in school right now?
No.
If we hurried, do you want to hurry and get back and go to school?
We'll see.
All right, well, anyways. Brant, what do you got to say about this hunt?
Oh, that was a father. It's awesome to get kids in the outdoors and be able to go on something that anybody could do, a turkey hunt, and learn how to do it. It's an absolute blast to watch your kid be able to just to be out with them, to be able to enjoy nature and get out and exercise, enjoy things, and get a turkey. That's the extra for it. If we didn't get one, it's still fun being out together, but that's just the extra on top of being able to harvest something sometimes, and it's fun as can be.
So yeah, as Brant said, anybody can do it. This is not something that's super difficult. It does take a little, time as far as learning it. I spent several years in this area trying to figure this area out, but now we do pretty well. It's a great time. I love doing it with my kids. We didn't draw, unfortunately. I'm glad Ryan did. So congratulations. That's going to wrap up the hunt. We'll see you next week. These episodes can't be done without your help. You know the drill. Please make some comments, like, and subscribe, and I'll keep working on more videos.